theatre students. So today, for this lesson, you're going to be delving and exploring the different areas of the DP theatre syllabus. Now, something to be mindful of as you're going to look at the 4 different syllabus areas, we're going to focus on only 3 today, is each area might ask you to approach them from various perspectives as either creator and or designer and or director and or actor. So just as an overview, these are the 4 syllabus areas. The first one is staging playtext, and the first 3 are for HL and SL students. So whether you're doing HL theatre or SL theatre, these first 3 tasks concern you. The second one is exploring world theatre traditions, and the third one is collaboratively creating original theatre. Now the fourth one is what concerns HL only students, and this is about performing theatre theory. We will not look at that right now. We will look into that later on once we shift more towards the HL aspect of the theatre course. So we'll focus on the first 3. I'm going to start looking at staging playtext. Now, with these syllabus areas, you really have an end goal, a final objective that you want to achieve as a student, and this is what I'm showing over here. So you should feel confident once you finish all of your exploration of staging playtext. Doesn't mean you need to be able to do it now. It doesn't mean you need to do it at the start. But by the end of Form 6 would be a good benchmark. You should feel comfortable to choose a published play. And from that play, explore it, read it, understand what the playwright was trying to say, identify the themes, identify the main ideas, and from that, be able to formulate a vision that you have as a director and as a designer for the way that you would design and stage the entire play for an audience. Then you will later on focus on obviously specific moments of a play that can be more detailed and thorough. So you need to eventually be able to present your creative and original ideas in the form of a production proposal, and that requires a lot of visual presentation. Throughout the Form 6 units, as you're exploring this syllabus area, you will have to, each of you, stage 1 extract of a play. You get to choose when, what play, but we'll look at that a little bit later. So when you're looking at the staging playtext area of the syllabus, you want to think of a bigger question of how can you stage playtext in order to create moments of theme. Theme is a really key word. T stands for tension, E for emotion, A for atmosphere, and M for meaning. So we're going to delve a little bit more into that. Now, how do you create theme? Before you even yourself start to create theme, you're going to look at what other directors have done. So hopefully we do get to see some live theatre at the Coudin Arts Centre. I know the offers in English especially are quite limited, and we don't always have a big variety. Some of you went onto a school trip last year. We will be organising another one this year as well. We'll talk about it. That's an additional opportunity for you to see how directors deal with theme in live performances. By having watched the way that other directors create theme, you will then take that into your own practice, which will allow you to rehearse, and you will use acting elements, which are what we call performance elements, and design, which is what we call in DP theatre production elements, in order to create moments of tension and or emotion and or atmosphere and or meaning. Now, the other thing that you need to do for the production proposal is, and this comes from the point of view, the perspective of director very strongly, is that you need to formulate your own original theatre maker intention. So, as a director, what is it that you want to do? What do you, what message do you want to communicate, and what impact do you want to have on your audience? From that, there's many decisions you need to make, and these are decisions that directors really do make when they're working on shows. Um, so, as we are working on this syllabus, and even as you kind of lead towards your end assessment tasks in Form 7, you will undertake a series of practical explorations to be able to make those intentions come to life. And you do need to document your ideas through visuals and sketches. We will show you how to do some digital drawings and how to use some existing online platforms to generate those visuals. And all of that will help you into creating your proposal. But when you are doing the different units in Form 6, what's really important and I think interesting, I might have a bias, specialised as a director, is that you will need to practically direct each other's, and you're going to end up having those extract from plays presented in front of a live audience. Now, obviously, we're not going with a really big audience. It will be during our theatre class time. It might be a couple of friends, teachers that you want to invite, who friends who've got study, teachers who are not teaching during that lesson. Now, you'll also be involved in practically realizing the design of one of those extracts of plays. So it might be you're realizing the design of the play that you're directing, or it might be you're realizing the design of a play that someone else is directing. So we do get some collaboration here. And you will learn how to pitch your ideas um, through both verbal presentation and also in written format, and how to make the written format effective so it's not bogged down with too much information. We're definitely not about writing an essay for this one here. So the second area of syllabus that I'll talk to you about is the one where you're exploring world theatre traditions. Now, over here, same thing as I did with the first syllabus area, which was presenting, staging play text. This is what you want to be able to achieve by the end of Form 6. So you should be able to feel that you can plan and you can deliver and you can video record an individual research presentation. Now, what format does it take? You're going to explore two main formats, doing it at school in the classroom. Usually we've got some slides projected and you are most of the time on the stage talking to a small audience, most likely other students in the class. But also you will learn how to video record it at home and put your ideas together in a video recording that you can complete in your own time at home. Obviously, you might feel some of you might be more confident with certain bits or formats than others, and there is a big degree of flexibility, so you'll get to make choices. But in Form 6, I do want you to explore both of those formats. Now, what will the individual presentation be about? It should be about, there will be academic research, so you need to do the more traditional research of a couple of sources of written sources, digital ones, video ones, audio ones, as you wish. So even the academic, you will need to look at videos as well. But there's also going to be a lot of practical discoveries. So you would have engaged in explorations of what we call a performance convention from a world theatre tradition. So you need to be able to say what you discovered, what you've learned through those practical explorations. Now, what's really important here is you're going to apply those performance conventions to try and show what it might have looked like in performance. But it's really important that you think about it's nearly as if you're traveling through time and space, um, and you want to engage with these new theatre traditions that might be um, something, some of them you've never heard about before, in a respectful manner. But it does mean that you can't become an expert because for some of those traditions, it takes years and years of training from a very young age to get that mastery. So you're just having an what we call opening the door experience. You're just having a peek and getting a little bit of a glance of the surface level of it. But hopefully it allows you to open up your understanding of what theatre is. It aligns with being open-minded over here. So here the big question is, how has theatre evolved in specific locations and time periods? So it could be that we're looking at England, England today and England 450 years ago was not the same. 450 years ago was Shakespeare, and we've got some amazing tradition of English theatre across different time periods that are so different. Um, but then you might stay in the same time period, so 450 years ago, but move from England and go to Japan, and all of a sudden you've got kabuki theatre. So it's about nearly doing that space time travel in a way. So, what will happen? One of the things that's really important about exploring world theatre traditions is a notion of context. It's understanding the where and when a theatre tradition emerged and how that where and when had an influence on that theatre tradition. And then it's looking at the conventions and performance material that was specific to that theatre tradition, and it means to that specific context of a theatre tradition. So this is where there's a mix of both academic and practical explorations here. Now, for this syllabus area, you're really taking on the perspective of performer only. So what you want to do is that opening the door experience. You want to gauge what might it have been like as a performer to be performing in that theatre tradition. You will not be able to become an expert, but you can explore and experiment with the specific performance skills of that tradition, and you can get better. Um, and this is going to be for a lot of self-directed work, so you'll be taking the lead. I'm here to help you. I'll be driving you, I'll be questioning you, I'll be sharing resources. We'll be looking at things together, we'll be trying out ideas. You can even use your peers to kind of thrash out ideas, see what works or not. So what you want to be able to do by the end of it is apply one of the performance convention to the performance material that was traditional of that context of that theatre tradition, and see and give an insight and get an insight into the experience of being a performer like that. So you will present this finding in different formats. I think I've mentioned that just at the start. It will be either in class as a live presentation, or it will be something that you video record at home. And through that, you will also be brought about and invited to reflect and evaluate on your learning and on your growth as a performer as well. So now this brings us to the third and what will be today the last syllabus area. It's the last one, which is both HL and SL, and this is collaboratively creating original theatre. Now, you will see that it is about how do you work as a group to create. So creating, you really need to make up absolutely everything. You do not start with a script. You cannot use an existing script. You can use so many other things as inspiration. You could use existing stories, you can use existing song lyrics or actual song or the music video of a song. You can use real life events, issues. So you're quite free what you use to get started in that creation process. And what you do need to do is you're staging it. So staging it, it means you're adopting the perspectives of director and designer. And obviously creating means you're adopting the perspective of a creator. And you need to then perform it, so you will also adopt the perspective of performer. So this is a brilliant syllabus area. I personally enjoy it. I think it's so liberating, scary at the start when you don't yet know how to do it. But then once you know how to do it, there is zero limit on what you can do, except maybe what Mr. Emmanuel says no to in terms of logistics. But we can do quite a lot in the theatre anyway. And so by the end of that, you will perform an original piece of theatre that you would have created in a group of between 2 to 6 students, which is from the starting point that all the members of that group agree. Now, this piece that you're going to be presenting to an audience, so in Form 6, you do present it to a smaller audience. It's during your own lesson or sometimes during lunchtime if you want to reach out to other year levels. But what is important, this is a fully realized production, so it shouldn't feel like they walked into a classroom where you're rehearsing. It should feel like for the audience, it should feel like for them they walked into a real proper theatre show with all the elements of design and acting that might come around. Now, acting doesn't need to always mean dialogue, it can be movement based, but it should get a sense that this is polished, this is complete. And you get to choose who your audience is too. So a lot of choices you'll be leading over there. Now, I think the big question and the key question is, how can you work as a group to realize your formulated theatre maker intentions? So you're going to here it's a different type of theatre maker intentions, but you are theatre makers and you'll put out the intentions of what you want to create as a piece. You need to create those intentions as a group, and then you need to work as a group to make sure these intentions are realized in that final performance that you will present to your chosen audience. So I think one of the key points that we need to develop here is collaboration. What are the forms of collaborations that might be specific to theatre? You might see that obviously we do talk about ATL collaboration skills, and collaborative skills are relevant here, but I think there's certain features of collaborations that are quite specific and unique to the theatre making process, especially when you're creating original theatre. So you're going to be exploring that over here, and they should help you generate an original piece of theatre as a group. So it's no longer as individuals, it's no longer this person is doing that other person is doing something different. Is how do you all come together and make sure you're creating as a group? So this leads to the second aspect of this syllabus area that you're going to be engaging with. How do you create? How do you create original theatre? And you're going to be looking into that process. You're going to look at how at least one professional theatre company does it. And then I'm going to be leading creation workshops in class itself. So you get a sense of, okay, this is how creation can happen. Some of those hows might be ways that you already know, and hopefully a couple of them at least will be completely new and a good discovery. And then this will lead to you eventually being able to create an original piece, which begins from a shared idea, shared by the members of your group. And this leads us to a third aspect of collaboratively creating original theatre, which is performing. And here you're going to look at two aspects of performing. First of all, yes, performing in front of an audience. You get to choose your audience, you get to really plan about the whole audience experience. What information do you get them? How do they come in? All of that. And the other thing is, you're going to have to figure out how to gather some feedback from your audience. And this is something that we're going to try out different platforms, different approaches, trial and error, fail a few times, and then learn from it, so that eventually when you get to Form 7, you should feel a bit more confident about that. So that brings us to the overview of what consists the three HNSL syllabus areas. Um, you will now see that you've got a Jamboard where you can jot down what you've understood, you kind of big take home key message from each syllabus area, and questions that you've got.